top 5 Week 2 matchups. I hope that in the future of college football, we can continue to get at least 5 to 6 games a weekend that are like this. But I know that that's not the case because, you know, there's going to be like week 7 where there's one good game and everybody else is kind of in the wasteland because that's kind of how it goes. But I do like that the first, couple real weeks of the season have had some real marquee matchups. So here's top 5 week 2 matchups. Number 5, Houston versus Texas Tech. I've picked Houston in this game. And now after talking to Rob Sellers and then you guys, I feel kind of dumb for doing that, but I'm all in on the Cougars this week. And maybe, here's the thing. Soki, I think I might have picked against Texas Tech because I'm just angry at West Texas right now.
Oh, because of our ill-fated trip to Midland, Odessa,
Yeah, I might just be mad about that. I hope I didn't let my emotions, but I still think it should be a really good game. I think Houston's a step up to from where they were last year, even though Tech handled them pretty well in that game. And, this is where we'll see where Tech really is early on under Joey McGuire.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember correctly, last year Texas Tech needed a comeback to, I think, win that game.
Oh, they were like 21 points.
Like they needed
a
big comeback. Yeah. But, I mean, this is, like I said earlier, I think a game where, Tech should win. They're at home. They're not a rebuilding team. They're a renovating team, I think, at this point, a renovating program. They had some solid foundation. They didn't have to take it all down to the studs and everything like that. So I expect a crazy crowd. I expect the Red Raiders to go 2-0. I do think it'll be a great game. I definitely think Houston has a chance to go and win this game, but I just think after what they went through last week and then now being on the road in a tough environment, that's just a lot for Houston to overcome, in addition to the fact that Tech could also just be a better team on the field as well. I don't think there's a huge distance between the two, so a lot working in Tech's favor in my mind.
Like mirror images.
Yeah. Number 4, Texas versus Bama. And the reason this one is 4th is because I really think that, it's just not going to be that good of a game. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Texas pulls out early and some of their, skilled players. I do think this could be potentially a game that could be tied 14-14 early on in the game. But I just think Bama's got too much up front and too much depth that Texas simply does not have yet for this to be really a game when it comes down to the second half.
As far as logos, there's none better.
Well, and look, it's great. I hope that
for this week.
Yeah, I hope more CFP expansion, all these things where it maybe benefits you more and there's not so much punishment for doing it. I hope more logos play each other. I hope they do. I hope that happens because I think it'll be better. I don't want to, leave the other guys out in the lurch, but I do enjoy weekends where I can see, Notre Dame versus Ohio State, where I can see Texas versus Bama, where I can see, Florida State versus LSU. I mean, those two are the definition of just logos right now, but even still, it's great that they're playing each other, and it's fun, and it makes it,
It's why I think I love college football.
Yeah.
I think it's because of games like this. Logos, tradition or not, just teams that are the standard is a very high level, even though Texas has not been there in a while. I love college football to watch a game like this one.
Yeah.
I mean, the build-up wise, the game might absolutely stink. That's what I hope doesn't happen, and I don't think that it will. I know Alabama's heavy favorites at this point, but there are, a dozen storylines coming out of this game that will be fascinating to go over, and that's just knowing what we know on paper. Like, hey, how does Quinn Ewers fare against Alabama in his very first contest? How does Bijan fare against Alabama? How does the Texas defense perform against? There's so many things to learn, and yet we won't have all the answers to every question because depending on the outcome, there's going to be some different directions this may go. Does Texas get their doors blown off, embarrassed in front of their home crowd, or do they play it tight and give hope and optimism that this thing's on the right track and Quinn Ewers really is the next big Heisman star? I mean, I don't think we really know anything about Texas just yet, so this should be a great telling game in so many ways, and tell us a little bit about Alabama too, even though their story's kind of the same year in and year out of just being right there at the pinnacle of the sport. But great measuring stick. Interesting to see Bama on the road in a non-con game like this. And just a lot of storylines to love to see unpack this weekend.
Yeah. Number 3, Pitt versus Tennessee, a little ACC SEC matchup here. Pitt with Keaton Slovis coming off the big emotional win in the backyard brawl. Tennessee played Ball State and looked really good as they should have. Tennessee is going to score points. Where I think this was going to be interesting is can Pitt's defense with Pat Narduzzi, can they slow Tennessee down where they can score with them? Not that Pitt has a bad offense, but I don't think they have an offense like Josh Heupel's and Hendon Hooker. So can Pitt slow them down enough to keep themselves in the game? Or is Tennessee's defense bad enough where it won't matter?
You have this one ahead of Texas, Alabama.
Well, I mean, it's a more evenly matched game.
Okay. All right.
It's a more even. I mean, again, and look, Texas fans, if you lose to Alabama by the spread, which I think is right now 20 points, then that's actually not a bad loss to Alabama. I mean, most people lose to them by more. So,
yeah, I mean, this should in theory be a better, more evenly contested game. But yeah, I like Tennessee in this game because of the firepower on offense. I think Pitt obviously is going to have more than a puncher's chance. But yeah, I do like Tennessee in this game, and I'm curious just how high scoring it really becomes. How does, to your point, Pitt, limit them offensively as best as possible. Yeah, but I don't have a lot of faith in Slovis and company like going up and down the field at all.
Yeah, if this is a shootout, then can they really win a shootout, or does that really favors Tennessee? Number 2, Florida versus Kentucky. Look, this is a big deal when Kentucky finally beat Florida after a long time. These are two good quarterbacks going to each other, and Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has burst on the scene. This game is at the Swamp, a place that's very difficult for anybody to win. It's been very difficult historically for Kentucky to win there. Mark Stoops is on the climb here. This is one, and it's really early on, but if he doesn't win this game, then there's no chance of them winning the SEC East.
Well, and again,
which there's probably not anyway because of Georgia.
Yeah,
but
Florida has a great tradition in basketball, and so does Kentucky.
Yeah,
and Stoops has to, if they want to be a football program, right, football school, then this is the kind of game you win, and he's starting to win more of these.
Yeah. Florida's done something that most schools haven't. They've won national titles in both.
Yeah, that's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, they've done a lot. So as where Kentucky hasn't, most people don't really have that bragging point. And number 1, Baylor versus BYU. Not being a homer here, this is the most evenly matched game to me of the weekend, and the best one of the two best teams that will mirror each other in a lot of ways, scheme-wise, the way that they approach things. We had Kalani Sitake on the show earlier. I think this one is going to be an absolute slobber knocker, and will come down to the last few minutes of the game.
Yeah, we've been asked to do predictions and send them in, and I'm going to wait till the last second. It's not like I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I think Baylor's a slight. I know Brigham Young, Vegas-wise, is a slight favorite. That's how tight this game is. It might be just the fact that they're at home. I can't wait to see how this thing unfolds.
I'm taking Baylor in a close game. I think it ought to be a fantastic little contest. I just like the Bears more overall. I think that BYU might have some as many questions answered as Baylor does after the first week. I mean, they certainly feel great about all the talent they've got coming back. Curious to see how healthy BYU is at wide receiver because they have been a little bit dinged up there, even though they didn't seem to matter much last week and just tossing around USF. But, yeah, big step up in competition for both. Home field, if you want that to flip the coin for you, then I totally understand that because that's really the only thing separating them, quite frankly, based on what we know right now. But, yeah, I like the Bears, and this should be a great one.
There are bangers. Those are the games that, when you have games like this, are the ones that Paul has highlighted among the top 5. There's some good ones coming up. Pretty soon you have A&M and Miami and others along the way over the next 2 or 3 non-conference weeks, and some conferences have already begun. All right.